Hello, I'm Bill Jameson. Welcome to 24/7 Dad's Class. I'm so glad you could join this session. This is the third session, and we're going to get right into our lesson for today. And the lesson has to do with showing and handling feelings. Showing and handling feelings. And I wonder, what were you told when you were a little boy about your feelings and emotions? What would be something that you heard then that would shape how you feel about showing your feelings and emotions today? Well, I can tell you that for me, it was that boys don't cry, boys don't show their feelings, and you have to be strong as a man. Man should be like iron, okay? And girls are like cotton candy, like roses and flowers, and boys are like nails and puppy dog tails. I think that's the way that goes. Nails and puppy dog tails is how I remember it. And so that is sort of ingrained in me, and I think you may have similar experiences, but the question is, how do you feel about that today? Okay? How do you feel about sharing your feelings and emotions today? Well, I can tell you, for me, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with showing my feelings and emotion, even crying. I'm okay with crying. I think crying is appropriate. I don't think that we should be crybabies and that we should cry and complain about every little thing, but I think there are legitimate things that we can cry about or we can be concerned about as men. And so I have learned to share my emotions. Now, I have other hang-ups and other issues that we will talk about as we go through this, but I want to just talk about holding feelings inside. You know, we all hold feelings inside, and we don't always let them out. And we are really like a cup. You know, a cup only has so much capacity, and then what's in it will overflow. Well, I think sometimes when we hold in our feelings that should come out, they overflow. And they can overflow in many ways. They can overflow as anger. They can overflow in terms of making poor decisions or treating someone with disrespect or treating someone in a very harmful way. And they can overflow also in some type of disease, such as ulcers and stomach disorders and even diabetes. All those are emotional, psychological diseases that we sometimes contract because we haven't learned to deal with our emotions or those feelings inside. And so one of the areas that I think that I have a problem with, and that is empathizing. Not that I don't empathize with people, but I don't always show that I'm being empathetic. And so I have to work at that to make sure people know that I empathize with them, because I am really what you would call cognitive. And that is, I think a lot, and sometimes instead of expressing my emotions, I express my thoughts. Some people are more emotional or emote. They emote more than they think, and so you get emotions. Me, I think a lot. And so we all don't approach life, or our makeups may not be the same, but I think that we all can learn from how we relate to having those inner feelings and what we can do about them, okay? And I want to say right off that it's okay to share your feelings and emotions. It's okay to do that, but there is a right time to do it, and there is a wrong time to do it. And we want to know the appropriate time to show our feelings. And obviously, if you're in a situation where safety is a factor, then you might want to reserve crying or showing, feelings when you need to be taking action. And so those kinds of things need to be, considered on the spot when it comes to sharing our feelings, okay? Men tend to be better at controlling their spirit of poverty. Men tend to be better at controlling their feelings and emotions than women, okay? Women tend to readily deal with their feelings and emotions more so than men. Men hold back. Men process their feelings differently than females do. And so we need to keep that in mind. We won't approach our feelings like females approach their feelings, mainly because of our makeup, the way we're brought up, and also because we're men, and men just seem to be endowed differently than women, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with the difference, okay? But all feelings are okay. That's what I want to point out. You'll see that in item 4 in your book. All feelings are important, and it's okay to share them, okay? We can share our feelings, and let me just say, feelings are both good and bad, but they're still feelings. So you do have to recognize those bad feelings, and you have to recognize the good feelings. The only thing about it is that you have to manage those bad feelings one way, and you have to manage the good feelings another way. But when they're all mixed up and we don't know how to deal with them, that's where the trouble starts. So that's where we make those mistakes in relationships or in what kind of language we use at any given time. And so I want you to know that our thoughts and feelings have energy. I want to stop here a minute just to talk about the energy of our thoughts and feelings. I in the process of writing a book. It's called Back to the Normal, and I'm not quite finished with it. But one of the things I discovered in writing this book was about the physics of thought, the physics of thoughts and emotions. And what I found out is that your thoughts have energy and they occupy space. They occupy space and time. They are a substance even though you cannot see them. I just think that that's amazing. And your thoughts really go after what they are designed to do. And your thoughts are antecedent to your action. Now, what do I mean by antecedent? I mean that you think about something before you do it. You almost always think before you do. Now, sometimes we put our foot in our mouths and we don't think. And those are grave mistakes. But most of the time we think about what we want to do before we do it, okay? So that's antecedent. So thoughts are antecedent to action, okay? But behind every action, there are thoughts and there are feelings. But these thoughts really have energy. They occupy space. And dealing with quantum physics, scientists have discovered that you can actually measure the volume of a feeling or the capacity of a feeling. And I never thought of it that way, and it's an amazing field of study. But one of the things I did realize in this study is that your thoughts really are working even when you're not thinking about them, because your thoughts work in conjunction with your subconscious, and your subconscious will always try to achieve what you want achieved, whether good or bad. Your conscience is your slave. And so your thoughts then are housed in your conscience, and your conscience knows what it is that you want to do. And because it's your servant, it will try to make that happen. Now, let me give you an example. And you may have seen this before. What about a drug addict? A drug addict who wants to get a fix. Well, the thought of getting a fix is really in his subconscious. It's in his mind. He's thinking about it. And even when he's sleeping, his subconscious is working on a way to get it. And most drug addicts figure out how to do that. because the subconscious are working to that end. Now, what am I saying? Your subconscious work when you're sleeping. How do I know this? Well, let me give you an example. How many of you drive a car? How many of you ride a bike? When you get in your car, do you tell yourself, I'm going to drive the car, I'm going to put my foot on the brake or on the accelerator, and I'm going to drive? And no, you get in the car, you don't even think about it. You just get in the car and you just start driving and you go where you want to go. You're not even thinking about how you're doing it. You know why? Your subconscious is doing it. Your subconscious is driving the car. Your subconscious is riding the bike. Once you learn how to do it, your subconscious takes over. Your subconscious is very, very powerful. And I wish that I knew this early on in school and doing different things. I would have worked with my subconscious, and I could have done better passing tests and making grades in school if I had understand the power of my subconscious. And once things are registered in your subconscious, you won't forget it. For instance, if you really study and you get things down in your subconscious, when you go to take the test, you know what you're doing? You're responding to what you know. You see something and you respond to the right answer because it's in your subconscious. And they call that the gut. You follow your gut because it's there. Well, I'm saying that your feelings and your emotions are also at that level. But what you want to do is manage them, and you want to deal with them appropriately so that you can get them out when they need to be out, and you can hold them in when they need to be in. And so obviously, this is an in-depth process, but I wanted you to understand the power behind what your feelings and emotions hold and why they're important that we understand their impact or their effect on our relationships with other people. And so your thoughts and your feelings have energy. It is the energy that wants to show itself. There's a right or a respectful way. There's a wrong or disrespectful way to show your feelings. But nevertheless, they are always there. Okay? Now, I want to just talk about, for a moment, the 24/7 dad. How do we deal with our feelings, those feelings that are inside, and those thoughts? How do we deal with it? I believe that this rule of thumb will always help you. The 24/7 dad doesn't disrespect himself. The 24/7 dad doesn't disrespect other people. The 24/7 dad doesn't respect the earth. Now, if you do these three things, then you're going to be right on in terms of dealing with your inner feelings and your thoughts. Now, why would I say that you shouldn't disrespect the earth? Well, because if you disrespect the earth, it really is a sign that you are disrespectful toward yourself. Okay? Now, how is that so? Because you live in the earth. Okay? And how you take care of things around you has a lot to do with how you're taking care of yourself inside. Let me give you another example that I have learned just by living. I have bought a lot of used cars. Not a lot. I bought some new ones. But, nowadays you can buy a real good used car from CarMax and other places. I mean, they're excellent. And I bought new cars. I bought used cars. And when I bought used cars, a rule of thumb for me is to check the car out physically. I take a look at the car. And if the car is well kept on the outside, I know that it is probably well kept on the inside. The engine is kept, the transmission is kept, all the things that are working in the car are probably up to speed because of the way the car looks. It looks like the person who had it took care of it, okay? And so what am I saying? Well, your inner quality, if you will, or what goes on the inside of you is expressed to the outside. And so I can look at a person's lifestyle or what they do around them and determine what's going on inside. Well, I believe that if you have order inside, if you have a good inner self, it's going to be expressed to the outside. And that also means that you're going to have better, smoother relationships with the people around you because of your inner person. And really, the issue is not trying to take things from the world that's around us to make us better, but it's dealing with what's going on the inside. It is quality from the inside out, not the other way around. We can't take things from the world that we live in to make us better. We actually impose our personage, if you will, or who we are on our surroundings. And I'm saying that if you respect yourself, then you will also respect the earth or things around you, meaning your wife or your significant other or the mother of your children, your friends, everyone. When you have that inner when you understand your emotions and feelings and they're in their proper perspective, then you can relate to others in a much more effective way. Okay? Now, I want to switch here and talk about another subject matter, and it's called grief and loss. Actually, it should be loss and grief, because loss comes before grief. When we lose something, we tend to grieve over that loss. You can lose money, you can lose a car, you can lose a house, you can lose material things. You can also lose intangible things or things you can't see, like love. You can lose self-respect. You can lose respect from other people. You can lose love. All those are intangible, but they are very impactful in our lives. And we can lose those, and we can grieve over those things. Now, the obvious type of grieving from a loss is death. When a family member dies, we tend to grieve that person leaving us. We grieve the loss, okay? And so when we grieve the loss, okay, we then approach that with our personalities and with how we are endowed, or how we've learned, rather, to deal with loss and grief. Not all people, different people deal with grief in a different way. Not everybody deals with grief the same way. Now, I want to say that there are 5 stages of grief that I believe everyone goes through, but some of us go through it quicker than the other. You want to get through them. You don't want to stall in one, but you want to go through the process. I want to give them to you so that you will identify what they are, and perhaps you can work your way through where you are if you are dealing with some type of grief. And here again, remember that you can grieve losing a job, you can grieve a divorce, you can grieve, misfortune, or whatever the case may be. But I want you to understand that there's a process of getting out of it, and you can do it effectively. You can do it in a healthy way. The first stage of grief is denial. For instance, if someone close to you die, you might have a problem accepting that, and you just deny it. You just don't want to talk. You just denying it, and I don't even want to deal with this right now. I can't believe this. That is called denial. And then the second stage is anger. You say, why did this happen to me? Why did I lose this job? Why is it that they fired me? Or why is it that my wife or my husband really wanted to leave me? You get angry about those things, and you want to strike out at someone. And sometimes you get angry with yourself, and that's a bad thing to do that, because you have to deal with yourself. But the other is that you get angry with other people because of your loss. And then the ultimate is that you get angry with God because you've had this loss. And so let's say you work through that. Then the third area or the third stage of grief would be bargaining. You deal with what if. What if I had done this? What if I had done that? What if they hadn't gone there? What if, what if? It's the what if. That is the area of bargaining. You begin to bargain for a better reality, if you will. But ultimately, the facts kick in, which brings you to the fourth stage of grief. And that fourth stage is very crucial. It is depression. This is where you bog down and you become depressed. The danger of this stage is that if you don't work through it in a fashionable or healthy way, it can cripple you, it can captivate you, and it can cause you to shut down. You lose your hope, you lose your energy, you lose your ability to really aspire to do greater things. And so you bog down there because you lose energy. It affects you physically. It affects you emotionally. It affects you psychologically. Every level of existence is affected by this incriminating condition called depression. And so you want to work through that. Don't stay in depression. And the best thing that you can do while you're in depression is be around other people. Don't totally isolate yourself from people. And, you know, when someone is grieving a death, for instance, it's not that I can come and say anything to change that. Words cannot change pain, the pain of loss. No words can do that. Words can't change the fact, but being present can help. If you are grieving, a family member or a friend or a child can be there, and that will be such therapy for you. If you are going through a grieving state, then make sure that you're around other people. Let them in. They don't have to say anything to you per se or try to fix the problem, but just being there is the therapy that you need. Not only that, but because you know this, you can help other family members who might be grieving a particular loss. And so it's important that we understand that and that we know how to work out of that situation. And the first thing we have to do is really realize that we're there and begin to do something about that. What are some things that we can do when we're in that depressive state? Well, we can really take on a hobby or do our, the typical of the ritual thing that you do. You can go and work out at the gym, or you can go make something. You can take a nature walk, go in the woods or around water or lake, and just relate to your environment somehow. That helps us to work through the grief that we are dealing with. It helps us to get to clarity. It helps us to clear our heads. And so many times when people go through a ritual such as that, it eliminates anger and striking out at other people and causing deterioration in relationships. So when you know this, then you can help other people. You can identify, well, they're grieving, so you can come and help them, not by trying to fix it, but just by being present with them. And so I really want you to understand that that's important. And so I want to now talk about the things that you can do. What are some tips that you can employ that will help you come out of the grief situation? Well, you can always show courage. We talked about courage before, that courage is one of those things that the 24 dad should exhibit. He should have. You want to allow yourself to grieve, but you want to have courage to go through it, to face it as it really is, okay? And then you don't want to shut off others. You want to allow people to come in, okay? You don't want to isolate yourself from people for long periods of time. You want to listen to your body, listen to the inner man, if you will, and make whatever changes you need to make. If you really know what your body responds to, then you're able to make those adjustments, and that will help you go through that process. So you got to listen to your body. If you have a headache or a stomach ache because of grief or what you're dealing with, then you know to take precautions. You know to try to minister to yourself, or do self-ministry, do self-care, if you will, in that area. You want to use rituals, as I said, activities such as building something or a hobby to help you get through this time. You want to slow down and reflect on the cause of the grief. Remember what caused the grief. That's important. If you're grieving and you don't know what caused the grief, then you really don't understand. You're not conscious that you're grieving. You want to be conscious that you're grieving so you can bring it to an end. But if you're not conscious of it and yet you're dealing with it, that can hamper your relationship with others around you. Okay? So you want to stay close to friends and that you can count on, and you want to eat well and work on your health, do workouts, keep yourself healthy. And then if you need to cry, cry. If you get to the stage that you want to go somewhere and just have a cry party, go there and do that. That's healthy because you want to get to a healthy end. So grieving can be healthy. It is bad if you stay in it for a long period of time and it becomes a form of depression. Okay, well, we've just gone through this, and I think we've talked about some things that I believe will help you. And so I just want to really talk now about, I would like for you to think about one thing that you've learned from this session that you could put into practice. Just one thing. I would like also, on a scale of 1 to 5 or 0 to 5, how would you rate yourself when it comes to loss and grief, and how you're dealing with that, or how you deal with it in the past? And then I would like for you to ask yourself, what was the most devastating thing that I've lost in grief? What was that thing? Talk about that, okay? And then I want you to go to the to your handout, and I want you to look at the worksheet. I want you to go to your handbook, and I want you to look at the checklist, and I want you to come up with some activities whereby you can put some of the things that we talk about into play in terms of dealing with your feelings and emotions. And you can look at them on a daily basis, you can look at them on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or a one-time situation. And I believe that that would be an aid for you if in fact you're going through loss and grief. Well, we've come to the end of our session, and I trust that you have gotten something from this that you can use in your life. And I want you to get ready for session 4. And you know what? All you have to do is click on that link, and you'll be there. And when you get there, I'll be there. I'll see you then. Bye-bye.